Hello class, Mom says here, signing on. Welcome to Introduction to HTML5. This video lecture from part 1 onwards is an introduction to how web pages are created, sent across the internet, and viewed on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. This topic is meant for the absolute beginner but also touches on information that may be new to someone who has been using HTML for some years. In particular, the new options available in HTML5 and some recommended policies for making sure that your page is accessible. Let's begin. Hi, today we're going to be talking about HTML5, specifically what it is and why we aren't learning HTML1 instead. So, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Markup languages are actually very common. They're not the same as programming languages. Instead, there is special languages that use tags to annotate or mark up documents. In HTML, the tags tell the browsers where you want to put headings, images, lists, links, and a lot more. A .html file is a special kind of file. You've already seen special file extensions before. Whenever you open a file that has that doc, your computer knows to open it in Microsoft Word. If you see a file with .ppt, your computer knows, oh, that's a PowerPoint file. I should open it in PowerPoint, right? In the same way, when your computer sees the HTML file, it knows that it should open it in an internet browser such as Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Your browser can read this file and it knows how to display it on the screen. It's more than that. HTML file tags also allow screen readers and other assisted devices to utilize the tags to present the information in new and special ways. So HTML is very similar to English. You can understand it even if you don't know how much about it. Let's look at this example HTML file over here. Most of it is just a typical English language. This is an important heading or hi there. I'm going to include a link to the course page, but if you look closely, you can see we've added this little tiny tags that the browser used this to know how to represent the material. So H1 is just the heading tag. It says to the browser, hey, this is something really important. I want you to put it in bigger font. And also, if someone is using an assisted device, I want them to know if this is something important. H2 also displays some sort of importance, but not as much. I have a P tag for a paragraph, and I have another tag down here called an anchor tag represented by A to let the browser know I don't want you to just show this material. I want you to actually link it to a different web page. So here's the output when any browser would look at our code. In the beginning, learning HTML is mostly about learning all those different tags that I showed you in that file. This is called learning the syntax. It's how you learn which brackets to use, backslashes, and different things like that. You spend most of your time going, oh, did I remember that tag and did I write it the right way? That's very short-lived. In just a little amount of time, you're gonna gain the confidence not to worry about your syntax and instead to be thinking about the semantics or the meaning behind the tags. How important is this information that I'm trying to get across, and is this the right tag to be using? If someone's searching my page, can they find what they are looking for? Even if they can see the text, can they use the tags to navigate through it? So what happened to HTML5? HTML1. Why are we using something called HTML5? Something like that. Well, let's talk about the early years. HTML was created in 1990 as a way to electronically connect different documents via hyperlinks. Hence, this idea of a web of connections. So what was happening is that scientists were using the internet to list their different research papers, and you would have a long list, each paper independent of the other, but HTML gave you ways that you could read a paper and write within the text linked to another exciting physics paper. That's what happened. Because the audience from HTML tend to be people nuclear, like the nuclear physicists. They didn't care about things such as color, images, or anything that wasn't science related, and that was the key. HTML was intended to work across any platform, and in order to do this, you really had to avoid things such as special fonts or different colors or anything that was more about layout than content. However, in 1993, Mosaic emerged as the first graphical browser. And what that means is that there was a first browser to actually introduce the idea of images, and when that happened, there was a lot of debate among the research community as to whether or not this was a good thing. The pioneers really wanted to keep it simple, content based, let everyone access it, but the innovators were saying no. People like pictures, they like layout, they like that even as much as they like the content. So there is a big battle between how the internet should evolve from that point. So after Mosaic emerged, the use of the internet just absolutely exploded. And more people were using it for commercial means instead of just for doing research. Mosaic had challengers, though, in the form of Netscape, Internet Explorer, and other browsers. This was the start of what we call the browser wars. Each of these browsers decided that they wanted to create these proprietary tags that would only work on their browser. Some of the examples were Marquee, where You could have scrolling text or blink, which would only work on some of the browsers and not others. Other tags were proprietary. They actually work on any browser, but they went against the original spirit of HTML. They were tags such as font or center for centering your text or background color. This may not sound like a bad thing, but some computers didn't have the access, didn't have the ability to have all the different colors that other computers might have. And this led to some really ugly looking pages. That also lead to the origination of what we call the best viewed on messages. When you went to a site, you almost immediately told which browser you should really view the site. Otherwise, you weren't going to get the optimal experience. We all, in a way, suffer from browser wars or best viewed on images today. Many times when you go to a page, you'll see that you can actually access the full content if you're on your phone, unless you click on a link to the full website. So how did this happen? How did we get to the point where different browsers weren't agreeing on the different roles that HTML should play? This comes back to the idea that no one runs the internet or the web. However, some groups have taken a more proactive role to try to help standardize what's going on out there. The first is the Internet Engineering Task Force. They really focus on the idea of how the different networks should collaborate and how they should work together. The World Wide Web Consortium instead deals with HTML and the evolution of HTML. They want to know what kinds of tags the browsers should and should not support. Finally, one of the newest groups, the Web Accessibility Initiative, they want to make sure that no matter how people are accessing the web, they have the same ability to view. So, where are we now? HTML5 is a cooperation between W3C and the Web Hypertext Application Technology Working Group. And what they've done is they've established these 4 guidelines for how HTML5 should be approached as browsers go to support it. The first idea is that new features should be based on HTML, CSS, which is the sign language, the DOM, and JavaScript. Nothing more. They want to reduce the need for external plugins. It's very frustrating when you're on a browser and you find that you can't watch the video that someone posted. They also want to move so that markup or the markup language can replace scripting. If you find that more and more developers are writing code to make something happen, get rid of the code and just make a simple tag that can do it instead. And finally, HTML5 should be device independent. It shouldn't matter whether you are on your phone, your laptop, a PC, or even on a screen reader. You want everyone the same access to the information. So when you think back over this video, there are certain lessons I really hope to stick with you. The first is the idea that HTML is not a programming language, but rather a way that browsers can translate documents into viewable web pages. HTML was intended to facilitate many different content types: images, pictures, links, lists, everything along that line. What we've found, though, the history of the internet is that when designers want to do something, they tend to write non-standard code to force browsers to do it. So this is why we're developing new standards in HTML5 to handle these new requirements that people desire and push browsers to adapt the new standards. And that ends our discussion for part 1. This is Mom Says saying, today is your opportunity to build the tomorrow you want. And so that's it. Watch out for more video tutorials. Stay safe and God bless everyone. Thank you for watching. This is Mom Says, signing off.